Hello BookTube, my name is Sarah and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my weekly reads for May the 5th of 2018. In my weekly reads videos, I talk about all the books that I finished this week and I let you know what I'm currently reading. I finished 4 books this week. I actually finished all the books I needed to finish for the month of April on April 30th. I finished the last 2, the last audiobook and last ebook, so yay me, pretty proud of that one. I don't know what happened with April. Every month seems to be getting away from me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you think you've got, oh, I've got a whole month to read these or to do this or whatever it happens to be. And then the next thing you know, it's the end of the month. And I mean, not that I was scrambling, but I think what set me off or made a difference last weekend is that I lost, like, you know, a couple days. And I'm very, very much a routine person. I don't know if you guys are like this as well, but I know I am. I like things the way that they are. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had a blast last weekend going to the Knitter's Frolic, and I talked to you guys about that in my last video, in my last weekly reads video. But it threw me off of my game. It threw me off of my normal routine. And, you know, it's the way my mind works. You guys are probably going to laugh at me, but, like, you know, I've joined a gym. And, you know, like years ago, I used to be a serial gym joiner and not so much actually going to said gym. But anyway, I would join a gym and it would be like November. I'd be like, yes, I'm going to go and exercise and walk on the treadmill every day. And then I'd realize, you know, in early December, the holidays are coming. Oh my gosh, you know, they're not going to be open on Christmas Day. What am I going to do? And I would actually get panicky. I'm not kidding, because my routine is thrown off. It's been the same this week too at work, because my coworker, there's 6 of us in the department in total for customer service for the US. 2 of us are headquartered in Toronto, the other 4 are headquartered in Buffalo, New York. So across the water, across Lake Ontario, if you will. And my coworker, the guy who sits with me here in Toronto, he was off this week, which is absolutely cool. He was on vacation. I hope he had a great time. The weather was fabulous, the lucky duck. But anyway, I kind of got a lot of his workload because the girls in Buffalo do things, work on different accounts than we do. So I kind of had a lot more work to do. And that was difficult. But you know what? It was still just a normal day for me. You do what you can do. You do the best that you can do. And that's all that, you know, that you can do, essentially, right? I wasn't going to stress myself out over it. I had a few moments where I was getting a little stressed out, but, you know, all in all, it wasn't that bad. What became bad is that 2 of the days, like, even though we do separate accounts, we're all on the same phone queue together. So if you were to call US customer service, you're going to get either somebody in Toronto or somebody in Buffalo. So the girls in Buffalo, all 4 of them, twice this week, once on Wednesday morning from 9 until noon, and then on Thursday afternoon from 1 in the afternoon until 5 p.m., they were in training, meaning I was alone on the phones for the entire US. Yeah, it got a little bit stressful. The morning one wasn't so bad because the bulk of our calls tend to come in the afternoon, especially when you're dealing with the whole country, because, you know, it might be 10 a.m. in Toronto, but it's still, or on the East Coast, but it's like, what would that be, like 8 or 6 in the morning on the West Coast? So, you know what I mean? So as the day goes on, the calls increase in volume. Anyway, on the Thursday afternoon, it threw me off because I didn't, well, actually, first of all, on the Wednesday, because I had to come in early. I usually don't start till 10, but I came in at 9, so somebody would be on the phones from 9 until, you know, whenever they got back. So because of that, I left early. Now, my last hour and a half of the day, I usually talk to you guys. I've talked to you guys about this before. I listen to an audiobook while I'm finishing off those last few tasks of the day. But those tasks came earlier in the day, and because everybody was still in the office, I can kind of get away with throwing the headphones in and listening to an audiobook because there aren't very many people there and nobody really cares. But, you know, the phones are still ringing, you know, stuff like that. I couldn't sit and listen to an audiobook. So I lost audiobook listening time on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, when they were in training all afternoon, I lost more audiobook listening time because I didn't get to take my lunch. Because somebody had to be on the phones from 1 until 5. And yeah, again, I could have taken lunch from 12 until 1, but I don't start till 10, you know. I don't have my breakfast till 9 in the morning. I'm not about to go 3 hours later and have lunch. I typically don't have lunch till 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon. So I ate my lunch at my desk. So I still got to eat my lunch, but I couldn't physically get up and leave my desk. And that really threw me off too because, you know, like, again, I have a routine, and I know you guys probably think I'm crazy, and here I've been going on for 5 minutes about nothing about books, but to say that it's been a not so great reading week for me. Like, you know, 4 books is great, but 2 of those books I finished on Monday, and I only finished 2 books since Monday, so that should tell you something. But anyway, speaking of books, let's jump into them. Sorry for my whole ramble. I do apologize. Today's drink of choice, I am drinking, it looks like kind of nasty water. I promise you, it's very, very yummy tea. This is David's tea. You can see the actual, you know, it's a herbal tea, so it's not a true tea per se. But this is Caribbean Crush, and I found it. I was talking to the girl at David's when I bought this last weekend. It's back permanently. So it's not like they're just bringing it out in the summer like they have been for the past few years. This one is to die for. It is a very tropical, fruity drink, and it's fantastic cold, and I love it, so I highly recommend it. I've been enjoying this all day long. It's like my second I think I've had today, so I might have to go to David's this weekend, or this coming weekend, and buy some more. Anyway, on to the books. I was hoping to keep this as a shorter video because I have a bunch more videos to film after this, and it's already 6:45 at night, so let's get on it. All right, first book that I finished this week was Dancing in the Moonlight by RaeAnne Thayne. This is a contemporary romance novel. It is book number 2 in the Cowboys of Cold Creek series. It is Harlequin Special Edition 1759. It was published in 2013, of course, by Harlequin. It has an average rating of 3.54 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I got 2 challenges completed of this one. For my April monthly challenge, for World Health Day, you had to read a book that featured someone in the medical profession, and the main lead male, his name's Jake, he is a doctor, and Maggie, our female lead, is a nurse, but they don't work at the hospital together. I'll get into it. And for the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs quarterly challenge, I got the stone lapis. I've never heard of it. Lazuli, lapis lazuli. It sounds very pretty. It's read a book with a sky on the cover, or one set in a hospital, or with a medical professional. So again, the whole medical professional thing. This story was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It's about, as I said, Maggie and Jake, and they've known each other since they were small children. They grew up in farms close to each other, or ranches, I should say, not farms, but ranches, because it's in Texas. And they used to ride the school bus together every day and things like that. They lived in a very rural community, and then some bad blood happened between the families. And I don't want to get into that because you kind of need to read the story to really appreciate it, but some bad blood happened. And the two of them stopped talking. It became very much a Romeo and Juliet kind of romance. Although the parents didn't hate each other, the mothers are best friends. There was issues with the dads. And again, I don't want to get into it. I'll let you guys read the book if you want to, but it's really good. So anyway, Maggie comes back from Afghanistan. She had moved away after high school to Phoenix, from Texas to Phoenix, and got a job as a nurse and was working in an emergency room, and signed up to be a nurse in the army. And she went over to Afghanistan just as a nurse, so she wasn't a soldier. But anyway, she something happened, and she ended up losing her leg. And she's now back. She spent time at a rehab facility, and now she's back home, and the two of them start up a relationship, and it's really, really good. I really enjoyed the fact that she was the one who was the war veteran, essentially. You know, typically that spot is for the male protagonist in these types of stories, that he's the one returning from war. But, excuse me, but it was really, really nice seeing that it was the female counterpart. So that was really great. The writing on this was fantastic. RaeAnne Thayne is absolutely amazing at this series. The whole series takes place, of course, in this little town called Cold Creek in Texas. I'm pretty sure it's Texas. It's either Texas or Montana. So many of these stories take place in either or. They're pretty much, you know, irreplaceable from each other. I hate to say this if you are from Texas or Montana, but you know what I mean. But anyway, yeah, a really great story, a great addition to the series. Highly, highly enjoyable. The next book that I finished was Deadly Fate by Heather Graham. This is a romantic suspense / paranormal. This is book number 19 in the Crew of Hunters series. It was narrated on audio by Luke Daniels. I love Luke Daniels. It was published in 2016 by Mira. It has an average rating of 3.97 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 4 stars. I was pretty much on par with what Goodreads on average was giving books. 3 challenges for this one. My 16th out of 45th book for my Stacking the Series challenge. I got for my Where Are You Reading, where I'm trying to read all the different, a book from every state, I got Alaska. Big bonus. And for my monthly challenge, it was the featured author challenge. Now, Heather Graham was not the featured author. It was Leona Andrews, I believe. she writes heavy, heavy paranormal. So they said that one of the options was is that you could just read a paranormal book. And I did. This one was really good. I really, really enjoyed this one. Again, set in Alaska. And it features one of the characters who was in the previous book. So if you read, is it Deadly, Haunted Destiny was the book that came before this one. Set on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. And so the whole murder thing took place and whatever in that book. And the lead female in that book, she had Alexi. She had a best friend named Clara. And Clara is our lead female in this book. And her and some of the other people were who, they do like a show. Like they're the entertainment on these cruise ships. And, you know, to get away from this whole killer thing that happened months earlier, they decided to book on a different type of cruise, an Alaskan cruise. Like you can't get further away from the Caribbean than to Alaska. And perform a show on this cruise ship. Well, they end up at the very beginning, they are being pranked on this reality TV show called Gotcha. And it's very, very much in like the punked kind of variety. So they have these Hollywood movie makeup people come in and put all these fake dummies around in this, you know, on this island in Alaska, and have put these fake dummies that make them look like they've all been murdered. So then these people show up and they think that everybody's been slaughtered. And it's like, you know, a whole big, haha, gotcha, you know, look at you, you were fooled. But it turns out one of the bodies is real. And then the story goes from there. The lead detective in this, who is not a member of the crew of hunters, but he is with Jackson Crow, who's the first crew of hunter. He was in the first book, so, and he also appeared in the last book as well. So he's kind of the tie-in, you know, and then of course at the end, this guy joins the crew of hunters, but his name is Thor. It's Thor Erickson. I mean, you can't get any more Viking than Thor Erickson. And it's funny, there's one scene at the beginning where she doesn't believe who he is, and she's like, I want to see your credentials. So he hands over his card, and she goes, that looks like a made-up name. The reply was so funny. He's like, yeah, my parents made it up. And I just thought it was so brilliant. But it was really, really well done. I love the whole Alaskan landscape of it. And it actually takes place like in the summertime, like what would be the summertime in Alaska, or I mean, summertime, you know, in the Northern Hemisphere. But you know what I mean with like the daylight hours and things like that. Highly enjoyable. I really, really love this one. And I do recommend it. I mean, these are part of a series and I am reading them in series order. You could absolutely read them as standalone. But if you did read Haunted Destiny, I absolutely recommend that you go on to Deadly Fate because, again, you're seeing those characters again. And some of the characters who were on the, in the show and on the cruise ship, some of them were just such literal characters. You know, funny and stuff like that. It was so great visiting with them again, and I really recommend this book. The next book that I finished was Never Judge a Lady by Her Cover by Sarah MacLean. This is a historical romance Regency novel. It is book number 4 in the Rules of Scoundrels series, and it is the 4th and final book in the series. So yay me, I completed a series. That's always so exciting considering how many I start every month. It was narrated on audio by Justine Irie. It was published in 2014 by Avon. It has an average rating of 3.94 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 4 stars. I got 3 challenges completed out of this one. The first one was for the What to Read in 2018, task number 19. Pick any list on Listopia and read a book off of it. So this came from like favorite historical novels or something. The next one was for the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs challenge. For Spinel, I've never heard of that stone either. Read a book with a child on the cover or in the story, or a book you want to relax with. This story does have a child in it, and the child is stinking adorable. And so is the word precocious? I just adore her. And this was also for my Pass the Parcel week number 8, where you had to read a book that had more than 2,000 ratings on Goodreads. This book has over almost 11,000 ratings on Goodreads, so it definitely fit the criteria. So sadly, I cannot tell you guys too much about this book unless you've read the first 3 books in the series, because there is a major plot point. I don't want to say it's a plot twist, but a major plot point that happens that you don't find out about until the very, 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 very end, literally the last page of book 3. Now, if you went ahead and you read the backs of the books, like the synopsis, I can never say that word, I apologize, on Goodreads, you know what it is. I did not, because I didn't want to read ahead and find out. I kind of wanted, you know, to be there some sort of a surprise. But this is the story of Georgina, and Duncan. And it, of course, takes place in the Fallen Angel Gambling Club in London, in Mayfair, London. the whole, without giving away what the thing is, the story is about when she was 16, she slept with the boy, essentially, which, this is a historical Regency romance novel. She was now ruined. She assumed that she was going to marry this guy. But the thing is that he wasn't. She's a lady, like, she's very high in station within, London society. I think she might be a duke's daughter or something like that. So anyway, she's essentially now ruined. But he was a stable hand. And, she had fanciful thoughts at 16. She was going to marry him and all these wonderful things and what have you. And he essentially leaves her, thanks so, a literal wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And away she goes, or away he goes, I should say. Well, she ends up pregnant. And, of course, very, very, very scandalous for the time. She essentially not gives her daughter to her brother to raise her, but her brother takes the daughter quite often, and she has her own thing she's dealing with. So, she comes and visits the daughter, but now she wants the daughter full time. And now her daughter's 10, and she's trying to take her out in society, but she's essentially being called, a bastard, which is, I don't like that word, but it is what it is. And that's what the child is being called. And, she's realizing now she needs to kind of re-enter society and try and make a name for herself and her daughter, so her daughter's not looked upon this way. And so her daughter has a good future. So the whole premise of the book is that she's setting out to try and find a husband with some sort of a title. She's going after a viscount. And, that way it would give her daughter a title and, would help her out when it comes time for her daughter to marry, essentially. So she's doing this all for her daughter's future. Very, very, great, admirable. I can't talk today, guys. She's doing a good thing. Enter Duncan. Duncan is a newspaper reporter, and he published a cartoon that actually what kind of set off this whole chain of events of, other people saying things about her daughter. And so they're kind of at odds with each other, and the story goes from there. Really, really great story. I love this series. Now, I have to say this was not my favorite in the series. I still really enjoyed it. I mean, 4 stars and it wasn't my favorite. That should tell you something. My favorite probably was the second book. And I think what I really love about this is that you see the characters from the first 3 books because they all interact with each other. And, it's been a number of years since book 3, like not in publication date, but like in timeline of the story. And, some of those couples now have children and things like that. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I think Sarah MacLean did a really great thing with this story, with this thing that happens. It really sets it apart from most historical Regency romances. And I loved it. Highly recommend this if you like these kind of books. And the last book that I finished this week was When It's Real by Erin Watt. This is a YA contemporary romance. It was published in 2017 by Harlequin Teen. It has an average rating of 4.04 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I think I got 2 challenges out of this one, but I didn't write them down. I'm sorry. The reason I read this book is because this wasn't on my TBR, but I decided to participate on the Romance Readers Reading Group on Goodreads. They do a buddy read every month. So you go on and you say you want to sign up and that these are the kind of books I like. And I said I liked historical and contemporary. So they match you up with someone who likes those kind of books too. And then me and the person that I was, grouped with, we kind of matched up, like did the whole compare your TBR thing. And we had about 8 books in common. But she really wanted to read this one. And when I saw it, I thought it sounded really good too. So I wanted to read it as well. So it was a lot of fun buddy reading it with somebody, because what I really liked about it is that she was in Italy and she has a different culture, and that culture, the difference in culture between her and myself, really gave us different thoughts on certain aspects of this book, and that was really neat. So this book, is about a girl named Vaughn, and she's only 17, and it's about a boy named Oakley, and Oakley's 19. Oakley's a very, very, very famous teen idol musician. I couldn't help but keep thinking of Justin Bieber, sadly. And I don't like Justin Bieber, but it's where my mind wanted to go. Even at the very beginning, talking about some of the photo shoots that he did for like Vogue magazine in his underwear. Like, didn't the Biebs do that for like Calvin Klein or something, like, or whatever? The comparisons were great, let's put it that way. But the whole thing is that he's got this really bad image. He drinks, he smokes, he does drugs, he's sleeping with supermodels, and blah, blah, blah. And there's this producer he wants to work with, and he hasn't put out an album in like 2 years, and he's trying to change his image. So his management team decides that maybe if he dated, quote unquote, a normal girl, like, you know, like a fan essentially, then they could kind of rebrandage his image. And the story goes from there. I'm not going to get into how they found her and all this stuff. It was a cute story. Again, I had some issues with the drinking and the drug use. Not that there was any drug use in the book. Don't think that there was. But it's discussed that this is something he used to do. So, you know, keep that in mind. And the two of them are underage and they are drinking. Now, in the province of Ontario, he would be legal drinking age because we have to be 19 to drink. She is definitely underage. I don't care. And I commented that when we were kind of going back and forth about the story to my buddy reading partner. And she was saying that didn't faze her because in Italy, you can drink at 16. So that's what I mean about the different culture thing. I thought that was really interesting. It was a good story. It was your typical YA angsty and oh my gosh and over the top and slightly unbelievable. Although I have to admit, I really liked the way that the fan aspect was dealt with in this book. That's something you don't see a lot in rockstar romance, how, you know, even in adult rockstar romance, how, you know, this girlfriend of the musician, how she's treated by fans. And you see that in this book. And, you know, how the management team kind of are puppeteers, like pulling the strings for this 19-year-old kid, essentially. You know, but the thing is that at the end of the day, like, I was going to give it 3 stars because I didn't love it. But at the end of the day, I was entertained, highly entertained. And I kept wanting to read it. I wasn't bored at any point or anything like that. So that's why I bumped it up to 3.5 stars. So if you like YA romance or YA contemporary, give it a shot. It is available on audio. I couldn't get it on audio in time. I had to read it. It's a longer book. It's over 400 pages. But I did really, really enjoy it. So what am I currently reading? My current audiobook, which I did not realize when I picked this audiobook because I'm doing it for a challenge. And I didn't realize it was 18 hours long. So this is a long one. I should have realized it. I have a copy of this book in print book format as a paperback, and it's a massive doorstop. And that book is The Invention of Murder by Judith Flanders. The subtitle is How the Victorians Reveled in Death and Detection and Created Modern Crime. Again, listening to it on audio, it's being narrated by Janice Mackenzie. It's good. It's not what I was hoping it was going to be, which is a little disappointing. I was really hoping they were going to kind of get into the background of how, you know, detection and stuff like that in Victorian England was, you know, became a thing. They got into a bit of talking about the police force and how they were, you know, centralized and things like that, and where Scotland Yard came from. But the bulk of the book is all these really, albeit graphic cases. I mean, not blood, guts, and gore graphic, but they are talking about, you know, bodies that are cut into pieces or things like that, you know, and, you know, these crimes in Victorian England, and, you know, what happened to it's essentially like case studies of all these different crimes that happened and how they kind of spurred on things happening within the detection system and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm not disliking it, but I'm not loving it as much as I wanted to. And I don't think it's a book I could have gotten through reading as a print book. It's much easier for me to listen to on audio because I find my mind would probably wander far too much if I was reading it as opposed to listening to it. My current ebook that I just started this morning is A Sweetheart for Jude Fortune by Cindy Kirk. This is book number 2 in the Fortunes of Texas Welcome to Horseback Hollow series. This is a cute little story. It is about a girl, or a woman I should say. I always want to say girl. It's about a woman who has come to Horseback Hollow from Miami. Her father moved to town about a year earlier, and he works as, he's retired from the Air Force, and he now teaches flying lessons in this small town. And he was in a plane accident, and she's come back to help him through his rehabilitation and things like that. Or not come back, they've never lived there before, but she's come to town to help him with his rehabilitation. And of course she, you know, meets somebody, and the romance is going to go from there. I'm only a chapter into this, not very far at all, so I don't really have many thoughts on it right yet, but Cindy Kirk is a great author, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. And my current print book is Secrets in Speed Dating by Leah Aston. I'm still reading this one. I'm about halfway through. but I do absolutely plan on finishing it this weekend. If you can see, I've got my little tabby in there. That's where I want to get to today, so you can see. That's what I want to read today, and then that's what I'll finish tomorrow, because I want to get this done. I said I was going to finish this for a challenge that's due tomorrow, so I have to finish this tomorrow, but it's a cute book, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So that's it for the books. Let me very quickly show you what I am knitting this weekend. Sorry, I hit the table with my foot. I do apologize. I started something new because I well, there's two reasons. One, my best friend Brandy, who actually lives in Myrtle Beach, we've never actually met in person, but, you know, isn't it funny how, like, online people become, like, your very best friends? She writes knitting patterns, and she's flippin' awesome. And she designed a new hat pattern. And she was asking earlier this week in the little group that we all chat in if anybody was interested in test knitting it. Much like, you know, if you write a book, you have someone proofread the book. This is the same thing. We knit the pattern and then see if there's any errors in the pattern. And she's like, and I'm like, it's a hat. I can probably finish a hat in a week. And I really wanted, all the projects I've been working on are really big and they're really going to take a lot of time. So I really wanted to do something that was a little bit quicker. So it looks a little small. I know that. Everybody keeps saying, it looks awfully small. It'll stretch. It will stretch. I like my hats to be snug, and I do have a small head. I do not have a big gigantic head. So yes, so as you can see, yes, it is going to stretch. I mean, it's on the needles right now. I'm knitting these on double points. I find that the easiest way to knit something. But look at my yarn. So it's really not interesting right now, guys. It's just the ribbing. Here's my pointer stick. If you look here. So yeah, so it's just the ribbing right now. The cat just knocked over a stack of books. I do apologize. But yeah, so nothing terribly interesting, but I promise I will show it to you guys next week when I'm done it, because I want to get it done by mid this week. This is the slog part. This is the part that takes forever, is the ribbing. For those of you who knit, you might understand what I mean. There are cables in this hat, and I do so love cables. But yeah, I'm getting really interested. I'm really enjoying this, and I can't wait to get it done. And before I let you guys go, I have to show you very quickly the bag this is being knit out of. Because, speaking about online best friends, so there's a group of us who chat, who all met through our knitting podcast, and there's about, I think, a dozen of us. And last summer, one of us got married. Her name's Tanya, and she lives in London, Ontario, which is about a 2-hour drive from me, I'd say. And so she got married. So I was one of her bridesmaids, and the other 2 bridesmaids were girls. One came up from New Hampshire for the wedding, and one came up from Vermont for the wedding. So, you know, it was a very, lots of different places, a very regional kind of wedding. But anyway, for all of her bridesmaids, she made us these bags. And what they are, she had the fabric made, like she sent out a picture and had them make fabric out of it. So all the little hearts are actually photographs of projects that she's done. You know, like blankets and sweaters and things like that. She loves rainbow everything. So, and her husband was totally cool with the whole rainbow theme of the wedding, which was awesome. But the inside of the bag, and this is what makes it, like, takes it to that next extra special part. Her dress was handmade. She couldn't find a dress she liked. She had her dress made by a seamstress. The interior of the bag is the fabric from her wedding gown. Isn't that the sweetest gift to give somebody? Like, talk about having, you know, it's just the most special bag, and I haven't used it yet. I've had it almost a year, and it's been sitting up. I have a little shelf, like, up there where I hang my bags, some of them, and it's been sitting there, and I thought about doing this hat, and I'm like, I wanted to use Tanya's bag because I just love it. So yeah, so that's what I'm using. But yes, isn't that just like the most special gift? Oh, I love it. Anyway, that's it, guys. I will let you go now. Pardon me, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice, and I still have 3 videos to film. So videos coming up this week. I have got a small book haul. Actually, it's a small ebook haul, but a larger print book haul. I bought some used books. I also have my April wrap-up, which I'm going to try something a little bit different. So that one might be a really quick video. And then last but not least, and I'm not going to give anything away, I have a very special announcement coming on Friday for a readathon that is going to take place for the entire summer. An entire summer-long read-along, guys. So stay tuned on Friday for more details. And until my next video, guys, take care and happy reading. Talk to you later. Bye.